Good morning, Mayap Arbak, or Mayap Arbak, they seem to be completely interchangeable. Here's the plan. A complete change of focus this morning. They're going to move a large part of the crew over to the carport and storage room area and pour the concrete in that tie beam at the top. I think they'll get it all done today. There will be a little bit more work on the front wall where they're going to put in the mid-level tie beam. Outside of that, there'll be a little bit more work inside the house with more scaffolding. Still a couple of forms to do. We'll see how long it takes for the carport to be done. If it's most of the day, then it's going to be consuming a large part of the crew, so there won't be too much activity elsewhere. We'll see. What could possibly go wrong? Here it is, the hive. There's at least 12 people in here this morning. The builder says they will finish all of the top beam concrete pour today. So this will be a big step towards completion of the carport. Well, not completion, we're a long way off that yet, but it's a big step. So I'll have a look. I know there's deep shadow in there. We'll have a look from the other side. And it is JR up on the top with his hard hat, no tether, who has been given the job of the final pour of the concrete into the beam. But as you saw from the other side, loads of guys getting it prepared so that they can try and just keep going all the way around the outside. So basically we go from here, where they'll take the gravel, they'll take the sand, and big buckets of water. Goes over to whoever's in charge of the concrete mixer, which is very often Erwin. And then these guys, as you see, moving the scaffolding around as they progress around the building, passing the buckets up to JR. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In fact, right now we've got 13 guys in total in here. So clearly this is the big focus of the day, or at least most of the day, I guess. Inside the house, where we had a load of guys yesterday, right now we have 2. Everybody, well not everybody, a lot of people have been diverted away from the perimeter walls and in here. But I'm told there will still be quite a lot more scaffolding going up. The builder did confirm that yesterday we hadn't quite finished putting in those base forms for the runner beams. There's still a couple to do. And then after that, they start, I think, building around those forms. But I think today will be more about scaffolding. I think yesterday I said we would get some very solid progress on this wall today, and we might still, but at the moment we've only got 2 guys working on this, putting that mid tie beam in place, and so this is obviously going to be a little slower than the prediction that I gave yesterday, which I thought this might be almost finished. So we've only got Rico and Ali here today at the moment. We'll see how far they get. On the south wall, there's nothing going on right now, but there is one thing that is going to be changed. The tie beam that they have at the top will be removed, and they're going to go another 2 concrete hollow blocks up. I'd said before I thought they might put the concrete blocks on top. They're not going to do that. So that tie beam will come out, 2 more blocks on top, then the beam will be put back. But that's not going to happen today. That's a little further down the road. Well, it's 10:40 and they are approaching the last section. Manny's told me that they will be finished by lunchtime. My guess is they'll be finished in the next 30 minutes.
That's terrific. That's all since 7 this morning. So they've got around the whole of the upper sections, including, I believe, a cross between the storage room and the carports. So this is almost done. And of course what that also means is it releases people to go and work in other areas after lunch. And this is new. Ronwell is up there. And they've put into place the beginnings of the upper beam, of the runner beam. So they're working on the stirrups now. I'm not sure you can make it out, but at the moment the stirrups are still only bent to 90 degrees. So we'll keep an eye on that later on today and see if bending it to the full 135 is part of this process today, or if that comes at a slightly later stage. And after a small blip earlier on, about 45 minutes ago, where a couple of guys were hatless, we're back to 100% hard hat inside the house. So the message is getting through. And here's the first. Richard up there. That's the first time I've ever seen him wearing a hard hat. Doesn't look entirely comfortable. I'm not sure it's entirely connected to his head rather than just perching on top. But well done, Richard. It's early afternoon, 2:15. Compared to the last clip, here's a tricky one. Spot the difference. Clearly, no people. It's not entirely true, actually. There's a couple of guys who've been working in here, but that's just preparing scaffolding, or taking down scaffolding, I think. So this was done, all finished. The top beam, the runner beam, has all been poured. And so everyone has moved on to other sites, other locations, mostly in the house. Let's go and see. A lot of those guys have moved here. And they're generally, mostly working on putting more and more scaffolding up. There are still areas that don't have it, and there's a ton of scaffolding materials around here, so I'm imagining there's a lot more to go up. And that does include also what will be used, at least in part, as support for the concrete slab for the next floor, once that is done. So, scaffolding and support everywhere, but more to come. Comments were made about the concrete at the junctions of columns and beams, and this was Nympha and Graham. Both have basically said that there should not be new concrete poured onto old concrete at those junctions. And as it looks right now, it wouldn't be exactly at the junction. Well, it'll be at the junction, but there will be a little bit more of column to pour. But we've raised the question with the builder. He has said he'll come and talk to me about it tomorrow, because these columns are pretty much up to the height of where the beams will be. And Nympha has said that's not right according to Philippine building code. So, watch this space, we will discuss further. There was a question from, I believe, Spanky 9067 at Walang Problema. I apologise if I got that wrong. Walang Problema in Tagalog, I think, is simply no problem. So, good name. Right, the question was, what size of concrete hollow blocks are we using? In the Philippines, the standards appear to be predominantly two sizes, which is, and don't ask me why they combine centimetres and inches, but basically the smaller one is 40 centimetres by 20 centimetres by 4 inches, and the larger one is 40 centimetres by 20 centimetres by 5 inches. I believe there are 6-inch versions as well. We have generally used the 5-inch blocks anywhere on, for example, a lower part of a wall, and we will be using the 5-inch throughout all of the ground floor when they go in. The 4-inch we've used on the upper parts of some of the walls, and the engineer believes that we'll be using 4-inch for the upper floor when that gets built. So, Spanky, great question. You said, had you missed it? Had I talked about it before? I may have briefly touched on it at some point right at the beginning, but I think I maybe didn't. So, thank you for that. Good question. Keep them coming, guys. I will always try and get to your questions if you have questions, either in the comments, but I know a lot of people don't read the comments, so anything that I think I can share, I will, as soon as I can in subsequent videos. The bell has gone, 4:30. Starting here at the front, very small crew here most of the day, but what they have done is got the tie beam in. They have got the tie beam concreted in. So that's at the top of, I think it's the 7th layer of concrete hollow blocks. Clearly, compared to the side, some way to go. And even the side isn't up to full height yet. So, front wall to this gate, coming along nicely. Don't think anything was done on the far side. So this was the big focus for the morning. Getting all the top beams poured with concrete. 12 to 13 guys working in here almost all morning.
but they got the job done. And looks like a couple of guys doing a little bit of overtime. And they've just extended the cover for some of the materials, giving themselves a little bit more shade down there. Not sure how much more this is going to be developed. We'll see tomorrow if it changes much. So this was where the focus was this afternoon. Most of those guys from the carport switched over here. We have got a whole ton more of scaffolding and supports have been put in place for when the slab is poured. Still a lot more, like this lot, waiting to be done. We have started to get the next level tie beam put in place. And here at the front, this is something you wouldn't have seen before because it wasn't there before. That will be the master bedroom balcony at the front. So that looks like that will get more attention tomorrow as well. We did think about, I think I might have talked about this before, we did think about having another balcony here at the back because the sunset's over there and that might be quite nice. But in the end, I hadn't got enough money. So no balcony at the back for the master suite. If I remember correctly, there is, I believe, one balcony over right in the far corner for one of the bedrooms there, and another one right over in that far corner for another one of the bedrooms. So that's the day. Mostly the guys were sticking to the hard hat, I don't know, rules, guidelines, policy, request, mostly. There were a few that occasionally removed them. It's going to be a battle. We will keep fighting the battle. So that's it. Day, what is that, 53? All done and dusted. We are getting a scaffolding maze in place, which will be continued tomorrow. See you then.